Welcome back to the Sports Repo, the real Sports Repo, everyone. I am Josh Sears with my partner Dion Johnson. This is our Week 4 wrap up, and we're just going to get right into it. Is that okay? All right. So the first game we're going to talk about is the Bills and the Bengals. Of course, the Bills beating the Patriots last week. This week, they end up losing 23-20 to the Bengals. So Andy Dalton in this game was 18 of 36, 298 yards and a touchdown. Fitzpatrick was 20 of 34, 199 yards, no TDs. Stevie Johnson's had 21 catches for 58 yards, again, no TDs. What did you see in this game?
Well, I saw Cincinnati Bengals defense is just a little better than I thought, as I recall on the prediction show. The Bengals defense is very high up there, up in the top five in the league. They held up pretty well, and I actually just saw a pretty close game, man. Andy Dalton played a pretty good game. He didn't seem to be too bad, but at the same time, neither was Ryan Fitzpatrick. Still had a nice amount of yards and still spread the ball around pretty well. Fred Jackson didn't run as well as we would like him to, but they're 3-1, and I still see them as a playoff contender this year, even though it's only the first quarter of the season.
And now we're going to talk about the Titans and the Browns. Titans running all over the Browns, 31-13. Hasselbeck went 10 of 20 for 220 yards with 3 TDs. McCoy went 40 of 61 passing attempts, 350 yards, 1 touchdown. And Chris Johnson had 23 carries for 107 yards. My question to you is 40 of 61 attempts, 40 completions, 350 yards. How do they only score 13 points and lose to the Titans 31-13?
Oh, that just shows you that one thing that the Cleveland Browns don't have is receivers. Josh Cribbs is a great return man, but he's a average receiver. And I really can't even name another receiver on their squad at this point. I think they have Muhammad Massaquoi, but he's good, but he's still growing and he's still learning, so it's going to take him some time to develop and continually uh, become a better receiver. They threw the ball 61 times because they can't rely on their running game right now. Peyton Hillis was coming off an injury. That Madden curse seems to be getting to him already. On another note, on the other side of the ball, Matthew Hasselbeck looked like Matthew Hasselbeck when he was playing in Seattle in his heydays. He went crazy on that Browns secondary and had a great game. And finally, Chris Johnson finally broke the 100-yard mark this game. Let's hope he can continue to break the 100-yard mark and start finding the end zone so he can help that team out and take a little bit of the pressure off Hasselbeck, who seems to not really be minding that pressure right now with the way he's playing lately.
Okay. And the Steelers and Texans is the next game we're going to talk about. Texans defeating the Steelers only by 7 points, 17-10. Roethlisberger was 16 of 30, 206 yards. He also left with an injury. We'll talk more about that on our preview show coming up this week. Matt Schaub went 14 of 21, 138 yards and a touchdown. Foster had 30 carries for 155 yards for a touchdown. Not a bad game. Not the best game by a running back on Sunday, but not a bad game. What did you see between the Steelers and the Texans?
Well, the sad thing is Andre Johnson also went down with an injury, which hurts me because he's on my fantasy team. So now I have to find another receiver. Andre, I want you to get well and I wish you a speedy recovery. You're still the number one receiver in the league to me, whether you're on the field or not. This game held pretty much, it was the Arian Foster show. It was his comeback from that injury he received at the hands of the 49ers defense, and he showed improved. He had his carries, he had his yardage, he had his touchdown, and he looked great. Matt Schaub looked pretty good with his passing, and he went to Owen Daniels a lot, and Owen Daniels had the only passing touchdown catch of that game. But they pulled it out. They did what they had to do. The Steelers. A lot of people are saying the Steelers look old and they've been exposed and that things are going wrong with them. I'm not going to say that right now. It's only the first quarter of the season. We still got a long ways to go. Now, come the halfway point of the season, the Steelers are 2-6. Then yeah, we got a problem. But other than that, right now the Steelers are still a great team. Big Ben still leads them. Mike Tomlin's still a great head coach, and I think that they'll be perfectly fine.
So the next game, a very interesting game. Second week that the Lions have done this. The Cowboys had a 27-3 lead on the Detroit Lions. Ended up coming back to win that one, 34-30. Now, if we flash back to last week, the Minnesota Vikings had a 20-3 lead on the Detroit Lions. Detroit Lions came back and won that one in overtime, 26-23. In this game, the Lions and the Cowboys, Stafford went 21 of 43, 240 yards and 2 touchdowns. Your boy Calvin Johnson he had 8 receptions of 96 yards and 2 touchdowns. Tony Romo, 34 of 47, 331 yards, 3 touchdowns, but he also had 3 picks all in the second half. Explain this game to me. What happened, Mr. Dion Johnson?
Well, what happened is the Lions continue to show you that it doesn't matter how far you beat them down, they will come back and beat you up. Very simple. I don't know how else to say this. Megatron is Megatron. Matthew Stafford is Matthew Stafford. When he's healthy, he's great. There's nobody better at it. When things are going well for the Lions, they're just going well. I believe that if Mikel LeSure was on the field, they would have way more of a formidable running game because Javid Best is that speed back and Mikel LeSure is that power back out of Illinois that would just run you over and just go massively crazy on you. But on the other side of the ball, you've got Tony Romo. I'm going to call him Tony Oh No because you don't have it, Tony. You're not a great quarterback. You can't get him over the hump. You're not taking him to the Super Bowl. You got 1 playoff win in 6 years. Well, 2 playoff win. Well, 1 playoff win in 6 years and 2 playoff appearances. You're not going to get him over the hump. Dallas, you need to draft a quarterback next year. Jerry Jones, I know you say you got faith in him, and that's your boy, and you pat him on the back, and you're on the sidelines and everything, and that's cool, man. We love you as an owner, but future advice: draft a new quarterback, somebody who will take you to the promised land. Because getting to the promised land with this guy is an empty promise. Tony Romo won't get you anywhere.
Yeah, and Al Davis also tried the same thing with Jamarcus Russell. This is my guy.
And you see how that worked out, people. You see how that worked out. He took him for $32 million straight to the bank and walked off free and clear. He still probably got at least $20 million left, unless he's just messed off all that kind of money, which hopefully he didn't. Maybe he was smart and invested it, but Tony Romo is just not the guy. Period. Point blank. He's not the guy. He's not going to take it to the promised land. So I don't care how many touchdown passes he throws or what he does. I'm not going to praise him at all this season. I'm sticking to my word from last week. Tony Romo. Tony Ono. That's your name.
You say Tony Ono. I say Tony uh-oh. What happened now? Next game we're going to talk about is another great comeback game where the Eagles trailed 20-3. And the 49ers came back and won that one 24-23. Alex Smith was 21 of 33, 291 yards, 2 touchdowns. Vernon Davis, 4 receptions for 45 yards and a touchdown. He helped me on my fantasy team big time. Michael Vick was 30 of 46, 416 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. And Shady McCoy, 9 carries, 18 yards. Vic, 8 carries, 75 yards. So 8 carries, 75 yards, 30-46, 416 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. That's a recipe for a win. Why didn't Vic get the victory?
Vic didn't get the victory because his defense didn't hold up. Once again, these DBs didn't show up. They wound up letting these guys get the best of them. They wound up letting Josh Morgan and Vernon Davis get 2 very pivotal touchdowns to help the 49ers in their comeback against the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, the point for the 49ers here was that they gave up 400 yards passing, over 400 yards passing, and that they let Vic run all over them with the 75 yards rushing. The plus for them was, once again, their front seven proved that the main rusher, the actual focus of the running game, the actual running back, didn't do anything. 9 carries for 18 yards is worthless. You will not run on the 49ers. You will throw the ball all over the field. And another point is that the 49ers didn't trip up Deshaun Jackson twice. That's possibly 2 touchdowns because you know the guy has blazing fast speed. So if they don't trip him up and they don't stop him, then you wind up with a game where the Eagles win. Now, the Eagles secondary must pick it up. There's no doubt about it. If they don't pick it up, then Michael Vick's going to continue to get them leagues, and they're going to continue to make him look bad. So the Eagles secondary has to step it up. Their front seven has to be a little bit better because Frank Gore did have a pretty good game rushing as well. And a correction on the what you said earlier, it was the 49ers trailing and not the Eagles.
I messed that up. Okay, so next game on the docket is the Bears 34 and Carolina 29. Cam Newton was 27 of 46 through 74 yards and a touchdown. Cutler was only 9 of 17 with 102 yards, but Matt Forte, the best day for a Bears running back since Walter Payton. He tied the same numbers Walter Payton had back in the 80s with 25 carries, 205 yards, and a touchdown. Same exact numbers. And Steve Smith had 8 catches for 181 yards. Now, before we get your take on the game, first of all, I want your take on what happened between Charles Tillman and Steve Smith. There was a pass interference call that, I have to agree, wasn't really there. What did you see with that?
I saw a flop. I saw Charles Tillman make a chop move. He flopped. He got the call. Good job for you. Great acting job. I want to give you an Oscar for the most little chump call that I've seen thus far in the league this year. You flopped purposely. You barely even got touched, and they gave you the flag. You only got the flag because you were in Soldier Field. Luckily, Mike Carey wasn't coaching the game, or you would have got called for a PI. Other than that, Matt Forte did have a great game rushing. He looked awesome. The young core of that Carolina Panthers defense did struggle a bit. They didn't really seem like they were ready to deal with what Matt Forte brought to the table. Jay Cutler had a very low amount of yardage passing, but they relied heavily on the run, and when they rely heavily on the run, you get results. Matt Forte, with that 205 yards, proved that, in Deion Sanders' words, need to pay the man.
Bear down on that. So next we're going to talk about the Redskins and the Rams. The Redskins, of course, beating the Rams 17-10. Grossman went 15 of 29 for 143 yards and a touchdown. Bradford went 20 of 43, 164 yards and a touchdown. My dad was at that game. Big shout out to my father. What did you see in that game?
Well, I saw the Redskins win and I saw the Rams lose. It's as simple as that. The Skins are playing great. Rex Grossman is playing great. They seem to be firing on all cylinders. Ryan Terrain had a great game rushing. Rex Grossman had a great game passing. And the Rams are just extremely disappointing this season. I thought they would be fighting for the NFC West title by now. But at 0-4, they just don't seem like they're fighting for anything. Steven Jackson's not able to run as well as he liked to due to the injury that he had. And I have no clue where their receivers are or what their receivers are doing. It just looks ugly over there in St. Louis right now. So hopefully they step their game up because last year Sam Bradford looked like the guy, and this year he just looks like a guy. But hopefully things will work out for him, and we will talk about their next opponent on our pick show eventually.
So next we're going to talk about the Saints and the Jags. The Saints beating the Jags 23-10. Drew Brees, 31 of 44, 351 yards and a touchdown, throwing it all over the field like he always does. And Blaine Gabbert, 16 of 42, 196, 1 touchdown. That's an okay day for a rookie. What did you see in this game?
Same thing as usual. Drew Brees throwing the ball all over the place, getting into different receivers, doing what he wants to do. Not very good on the rushing side of the ball. Blaine Gabbert had an okay game for a rookie. Things worked out for him somewhat. Looks like he's going to be able to be okay. He's going to develop this year. Next year will probably be better. But the Saints just blew it out the box. They did what they wanted to do. They came in there. They took over that game. And that was it. Now join us for our second half of the show in about good 5-10 minutes, and